Hey guys, and welcome to the Surge Growth Partner Podcast, a podcast where we interview top-level executives inside leading and growing companies in the IT and cybersecurity space. Excited to have our guest today, Kevin Hyde. We'll be diving into his story, what his company, Layer 8 Security, specializes in, and some engaging insights into the cybersecurity industry. So I'll go ahead and kick it off to you, Kevin. If you could just please introduce yourself and tell a quick snippet of your story and your background prior to working at or starting Layer 8.
Yep, happy to. So, started off life actually initially as a Marine officer. Got into being in the public affairs world. I was doing media relations, spokesman for the Marine Corps, traveling all over the world, doing media reactions to things, especially right after 9/11 and then Operation Enduring and Iraqi freedoms. So it was definitely some interesting times. But I got into strategic communications and then the civilian sector, started working in the consulting realm and some of the businesses out here in the Philadelphia area. But then went back into the reserves and then got myself into the intelligence community, went into the intelligence field as a Marine officer through the reserves, and then went to the NSA and Cyber Command for a couple of years, learning how to created the process for going out and assessing the cyber posture of a foreign country, which wasn't something that existed before. They needed somebody to create it, just figure it out. How do we do that? And how do you work with the theater combatant commander to go, figure out how secure another country is going to hold our information? And then what do they do with their own? So interesting times for sure. And then as I was demobilizing off active duty from there in 2014-15 timeframe, my business partner and longtime friend and compatriot, Jeff Lipson, we started Layer 8 Security, initially doing some government contracting, but then we quickly found just through our networks that the private sector was really calling for what we were doing. So we started off with one or two government contracts and then got our way over quickly to the private sector. Branded the company as Layer 8 Security, identified what the market was really calling for, at least in 2015-16. It's evolved since then, but that's how we got going, and that's a little bit of my background.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's definitely a unique story. I haven't had someone that served inside the Marine Corps on the podcast yet. So definitely am excited for this one. I am curious as to, I kind of like to ask my guests, what was it about cybersecurity that kind of sparked your interest, or what was that kind of, really made you want to go ahead and pursue a career and start a cybersecurity company?
Well, part of the aspects of cybersecurity is I've always been a little bit fascinated with certain white collar crimes that happen out there. Everything from art theft and high end fraud to even sort of audit things that happen, and how businesses either spy on each other, rip each other off, but governments do the same thing. And so there are no new crimes. Like, all the crimes that are happening today are literally in the Bible. We're just finding new ways to actually pervade them, right? So the crimes are as old as they can be, but cyber technology in general, and then the use of prolific cybersecurity tools and cyber attack tools have made it that the industry can now, see these different white collar crimes, pervaded over these private sectors. And so it's been an interesting, journey, because there's always something new. Attackers are always coming up with something ingenious. The defenders got to find ways to defend, and the attackers only have to be right once, and the defenders have to be right every time. And so, I've always been, a sucker for a hard fight. So I guess all those things made it, that cybersecurity was just really interesting for me.
Yeah, no, I definitely think the best way to describe the cybersecurity guys are like, we're the good guys. We're the good guys fighting the the good fight, right?
Yeah.
And that's neat to kind of see. I'm sure your background definitely influenced that as well. So that's awesome. And I am curious as to some of the maybe trends that you're seeing right now inside the industry. Obviously being inside the industry for a little bit, I'm curious as to kind of how you've probably seen it all kind of evolve. So what do you see right now at the forefront of the cybersecurity in terms of trends?
So for the first couple of years, we saw cybersecurity risk trying to be managed by companies. And the risk was, how do we defend against a ransomware attack, a business email compromise where somebody might fraudulently have you wire, funds to an offshore account or something. From a denial of service, where you're denying the ability for them to run their operations or access their websites or whatever. There's all these different ways you can pervade and attack a company. What we found was those things, the more they were on the rise, the more cyber compliance also was on the rise. So we have two types of clients at Layer 8 Security. We have clients that are trying to reduce their risk. Then we have clients that need to comply with cybersecurity regulations and controls and information security frameworks, because if they don't, they can't sign their next master services agreement. They can't get cyber insurance. They can't comply with their clients' requirements in order to actually win the business. So the more crime goes up, the more cyber compliance goes up. But the other side of cyber compliance is also privacy. So there's all these new privacy laws, and the laws, privacy doesn't exist without cybersecurity. That's kind of the crux that people need to, privacy people get too. The other thing is you're going to protect my information. I'm going to be able to have access to it. I'm going to understand what you're doing with it, delete it, save it, transfer it, whatever. But you can't do that without cyber controls. And we've found that the relationship between the two are really tight. So the more privacy rules go up and regulations state by state, as well as the European laws, and then the more cyber crime that goes up, the more compliance is being driven by the Fortune 500 companies. They push their compliance requirements down to everybody else. And then you have insurance requirements, because the insurance industries are now denying claims or denying even a policy if you don't meet these standards. And we'd known that was going to happen for years. We always kind of anticipated it. And it's been true. It's never stopped. It's only gotten worse. In fact, the SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, they created a new law that went live in July that everybody who's publicly traded on the stock exchanges, they need to release certain policies around what they do for managing cyber risk. How do they respond to an incident? If they have an incident, there's rules now on how quickly they have to disclose information, and they have to have a program for that. So we saw that law coming a year out and started to formulate our own services to wrap around it, to say, here's all the regulations they need, here's all the services we can do for you, here's the intended outcome and impact, and let's go. So as soon as we were able to get that in front of enough clients, they're more than happy to, yep, please help us with that. So that's really been our mantra: is we want to be helpful, we want to reduce the chaos, we want to create clarity, and we are here to genuinely help and make sure that people aren't going out of business, that they can gain new business. We're protecting jobs. We're trying to protect data, protecting their finances.
No, 100%. And I was going to say, it seems like the insurance questionnaire comes up a lot. Everyone's always talking about, companies just ticking boxes when they don't really know if they have everything, right? And then it kind of comes back to kind of bite them, in the behind. So it's definitely, it's needed to have a partner like that knows what they're talking about, that's able to kind of give you that proper guidance and help you make those right decisions. And now that's a perfect kind of segue into the next section that I kind of wanted to ask a little bit about Layer 8 and what you guys are doing over there. What would you say your kind of primary service offering is? I know you kind of just touched on it, but if you can kind of maybe go over that again, and where you think, clients maybe get the most value from Layer 8.
So at Layer 8, if you ask anybody here, hopefully they'll say first and foremost, our mission is to keep businesses in business. And there's a couple ways we can do that. At Layer 8, we have two sides of the client delivery services. One is the cyber risk and compliance services. They do the information security risk assessments, the virtual chief information security officer consulting. We do HIPAA attestations. We do that SEC framework-based, advisory services. We are also a high trust assessor, so we can certify companies for high trust. We prepare them for ISO and SOC audits. So we have a whole suite of those types of senior level consultants who can help our clients with that. The other side of the house is the technical security services. When you think cybersecurity, a lot of people think penetration testing. We do a lot of that. We do all manner of it. Physical, network, application, social engineering. We have a whole suite of red team services. Everything we do is in-house from both sides. So all of our employees are background checked, security derived background checks, national, county, state. and everyone here is checked out, so that when we are attacking our clients at their behest, they know that we're doing so with certified ethical hacking degrees, or certifications, advanced degrees from great universities, especially where we are in Philadelphia. We're surrounded by great universities. So we have a lot of really high caliber folks here. So when we're doing these types of testing and advisory, we're able to really bring it strong. On the other sides of the technical security, we do a lot of security monitoring. We'll do that senior level tier 3 response that people need when they're monitoring their networks. We do security architecture, phishing and training. We'll manage security platforms for a lot of our clients. So we have a really nice way to wrap our services together. Actually, we can take the advisory service and the technical piece and wrap them together and then sell it as a package to our clients, where that's actually kind of hard to do, harder than we
Yeah.
realized. When we look around for competitors, they're usually competitors for either this side of the house or that side of the house, but it's rare they're big enough like we are where you can wrap it together. And we found that's one of our key differentiators.
Yeah, I like that you guys kind of take that holistic view almost, and you kind of operate on both sides that are needed, right? And obviously maintaining that proper cybersecurity posture. I did have a question around, some of the main challenges that you feel like your clients are maybe facing before they begin working with you, and what do you guys do to make sure they overcome them, and how do you help them overcome those?
So there's a couple things. So one type of client might come to us from, we just had a cyber breach. Can you help us?
Hmm.
Like, my company's on lockdown until I pay this ransom or I do my backups. What do I do? So we get some clients that are coming to us in the middle of an attack, which that's stressful for them, for us, like, but having been on the crisis management side with the Marines, I can tell you, I live and die by crisis. So I'm not against, or, that I live and die by crisis means we're able to help them, right? We're able
Yeah.
to calm them down. This can be handled. We'll work with you. It also means we'll have to work with their insurance providers, maybe their MSP or somebody else, but we can help to coach them through it. So if that client comes to us from the fact that they just had a breach, we can work with them on coaching them through it. But sometimes it's post breach. Like, they'll come to us and say, we had a breach 6 months ago. We've recovered, but now we need to actually step up our game. So what do we do to get the right program in place? That's really the preferred way to go. Or actually, preferably, they don't even have a breach first. But
Yeah.
we prefer to come to, people come to us when they're now like, we want to get the right policies in place. We want to train up all of our people, on how to enforce the policies. We want to have the right insurance. So the clients that are coming to us from that perspective are really the preferred way to go, just because then they can manage their own cyber risk on their own dime and on their
Hmm.
own time, as opposed to doing it when the other client comes to us. This is the third one, where they've got a contract they're waiting to sign, or they're about to bid on an RFP, but they've seen, kind of like the insurance and the security vendor questionnaires, it's, are you compliant with all these things? Because if not, you can't sign this contract. And they'll say, oh, it says we need to be ISO 27001 certified. We need that by next month. We're like, not happening, right? I mean, that's a several month long process, if not a year or more. So it's not like it's easy just to get out in front of it with a month or two's notice. You have to be out in front of it with a year's notice. And it takes a while. And the bigger the company, the longer it can take. So, we have to manage that for their expectations. So it's those three types of clients that come to us. The challenges they're having is they can't sign the contract. They had a breach some months ago, and they're trying to figure out now, how do we go back and repair our reputation, and then, our technology and our policies, and then, or it's we're in the middle of a breach. Can you come help us?
Yeah. You'd wish that more people would come before all of that happens, right? That's how I always say. It's like,
I
you
mean, we
know,
say, look, in the Marine Corps, we keep it simple, right? There's boom, and then there's left of boom, right? We want them to come to us left of boom, right? Before boom happens,
yeah,
come, let's
yeah,
get up your defenses. Because the other key is, and we tell this to our clients all the time, nobody is 100% bulletproof from a cyber attack. Even if we've been working with you for years, no matter what you do, you can still have a cyber attack, because it could be your personnel, some
yeah.
disgruntled employee, somebody pays them to go insert a USB stick. It could just be purely cyber espionage, or if they really want to spend the time and effort to get in, They will get in. But you can be resilient. You can have the right defenses and have a layered defensive approach, because you never know at what layer your defenses will fail. It could be at the technology or application level. It could be, at your servers, your cloud. It could be your person, that clicks on an attachment or a link. You just never quite know where your defenses will fail. And so the more resilience you have built into each layer, the better off you are. And the more, your leadership, your board, whomever else, your investors, the more they'll know how you will react when it does happen, because you'll have the defenses
Yeah.
in place and you'll actually know how it's going to go.
Yeah, hopefully they'll have 8 layers of security, right?
All 8 would be good. Yeah, exactly.
Had to throw the dad joke in there.
Yeah. Hey, I'm a dad. Dad jokes are welcome.
Great. Well, yeah, man, that's awesome. I love what you guys are doing over there, and it's definitely something unique. I don't think I've really talked to a founder or a company that's really kind of packaging the services in the way, shape, and form that you guys are doing. So that's awesome. I kind of want to now, maybe just talk a little bit about, what it is that kind of comes with being a founder of a company.
Mm.
And being a fellow founder, I'm curious as, what are some of the challenges that maybe you've seen in starting and growing your company, and if you'd be open to kind of sharing those with the audience.
Certainly. In fact, it's funny. I was actually recently on a panel where an Estonian business delegation had come to Philadelphia, and I was asked to sit on a panel to share with them and a bunch of other students and founders in the Philadelphia area. And when somebody said, tell us, how you'd go about starting a company now if you're going to do it differently. And of course, the first answer for most people, and me was no difference, is don't. But it's not true. My business partner Jeff Lipson and I, we started off with a good idea, a really good idea. We had know-how. We had the ability to stretch finances to the point where we could support to get the business off the ground. And that all comes with risk, reputational risk, financial risk. And when you take those risks, you have to surround yourself with people you trust. So he and I trust each other implicitly. Both Marines, both served honorably, both been friends for a long time. So we didn't have a concern about trusting each other. We had to make sure everybody else we brought on and hired, we certainly trusted. And so we had to make sure we trusted the clients we brought on. Will they be good advocates for us? When you're first starting off your business, you have to cut the prices on these deals so low to get them in the door to start working with you that that's not really going to pay the bills, but you need 5 more just like it. But at the same time, you do that, and you also want your clients to be advocates for you. So that was always a big thing. Like, will they be, an evangelist? Will they, if I ask them for a reference next month after we do this work for them, are they going to say yes? Because if not, that's the money I need, but I also need the reference just as much, right? So
yeah,
and we bootstrapped our company, so we didn't take any debt, any outside investment whatsoever. So we never did, never have. So we get to be in charge of our own destiny, which is fun and exhilarating, also scary. And no one else has invested in our success but us. Like nobody. We get nominated for awards all the time. A lot of them we win, but a lot of them are held, these reward ceremonies and whatnot, by venture capital firms. Well, they only give those awards to their own companies, right? Of course. So, when we see the business environments in multiple cities and everyone has got their own ecosystem, it's pretty common, and it's just another message that, what, we're in it for ourselves. We're in it for our teammates that we brought on. Everyone's got a shared level of success, and that's another lesson learned. Make sure everyone has something to win, right? I mean, people can come to work for a salary, but it's better if they're aligned with your values. It's better if they understand there's something in it for them at the end, which there is. No one comes to layer 8 probably for just a salary. There's a little bit of altruism. We want them to align to our mission and our values, the way we run the company. But we also want them to be here for the long term. And we want to be successful enough that it has a lasting impact for everybody's families who helped us get here. So, we generally mean it. We generally want that for everybody. Think that comes across in how we run the company. So those facets have been key for us as founders, because, the other big aspect is we have some friends that they are an individual lone founder of a company, and they alone share the burden. They alone, we have each other. We can commiserate, we can celebrate, but not everybody has that. So we do count ourselves as lucky for that as well. But
Mhm.
it's a great place to be. I mean, it's fun. What color do we want to paint the walls? What do we want the carpet to look like? What kind of office furniture do we want to have? What kind of advertising campaign do we want to run? I mean, we get to make those calls on our own. We don't have some overlord telling us what to do or what not to do, which that's pretty fun.
No, that's awesome, and I think it's great to found a partner that you're able to kind of trust, like you said, because I think that's the most important thing is when you're doing business with someone, especially someone that you're giving your business to, or half your business. You have to make sure that you guys are aligned on all those missions, and yeah, that's awesome. You did share some great advice as well. I am curious as to being a bootstrap founder and kind of doing it all doing it all yourself. What were some of the sales and marketing challenges that you may have run into along the way?
Yeah, so one of the biggest is nobody knows who we are, so they have no reason to trust that we're competent, we know what we're doing. Um, that's trouble no matter what you do. We had some benefits in that one, we were Marines and senior officers at that, so they could trust us at our word. But it didn't mean that their board necessarily cared, right? So there was a lot of times we'd be in front of a company and they'd say, you know what, Layer 8, we love everything about your service. Seems like you guys know what you're doing. We'd love to work with you. Your price is where we need it to be. But our board told us to go work with EY or Deloitte. So sorry, we're going to go do that. You're
Hmm.
like, you know, but we know that we're going to do a better job for you. You're going to actually get personal attention from us. You're going to get the right outcomes. But their board wants the risk mitigated option. And that's, for a lot of companies, they think the bigger ones. The longer we're in business, the less that becomes an issue. We have a lot of credibility in the marketplace, a great brand, a sterling reputation. So that really helps. But when you're just starting out, that you don't have that. You have to create
Hmm.
it like brick by brick, so it really does take a while to build that kind of credibility up. And you also need good partners. So one of the things I would say when it's going to market and going to sales, we try to find good partners, other MSPs, IT companies, insurance companies, accountants, auditors, lawyers. They come across the clients we want to work with, so we needed to get our message in front of those partners. And so we used the partner channel to help us build our client portfolio. And over time, for a while we were building like how many partners can we get? And we realized we don't want that many partners. We just want the right partners. It's not about the number of them. It's about how good the relationship is, that they know what we do and they'll work with us and we'll work with them. And then we try to reciprocate as much as possible. They brought us into a client. Well, maybe one of our clients could use their services and we can reciprocate. And that's just what it means to be good. It's golden rule, simple as that. I mean, it's,
Hmm.
hey, they did for us, let's try to do for them. Um, and so we always do that. I mean, when we can. But the partners are really key. Not being too worried about the reputation. Just keep your nose down. Keep doing the hard work, do the good work, and let the reputation come over time. Those are two of the biggest things, because when you need brand recognition, and we can't. One of the challenges we have is I can't outspend my competition on marketing dollars. For me to get cybersecurity and AdWords and Google and other advertising placements, cybersecurity is very expensive to try to advertise and win conversion traffic. Good luck. I mean, that's tough to do. So I try not to spend too much money in that realm. There's some basic brand awareness we got to do, right? And then there's some specialty things we'll do here and there. But other than that, I try to spend the money either keeping our clients happy, keeping our staff happy, and then working with our partners. And we do have a direct sales effort, help bring in the sales. But we try to spend the money wisely. Don't just throw half the budget into marketing, because you never know what advertising is going to do for you. Um, there's a saying in Philadelphia here, especially because John Wanamaker, a famous business guy from Philadelphia, said, "I know that half my advertising dollars are wasted. I just don't know which half." Right. It feels truer than ever when
Yeah.
you're an entrepreneur. You're like, we just spent, however many grand on that campaign or this. Like, think we got some leads from it, but I'm not even sure. Like, So it can be challenging for sure.
It's funny. I have another client from Philadelphia, and he told me the exact same thing. So it's
Yeah.
it's funny. It's funny hearing that from you as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think you obviously touched on a lot of great points. I am as curious as to where you guys are maybe pushing towards in the next 12 months. In terms of the vision for your company.
Yeah. So at this point, we want to stick to. There's another challenge you can get to, and I'll get to your answer. Um, Shiny things that distract you. You got
Mm,
to try to work those out of your system. So we don't want to get too distracted with things that are not our core competencies, and it happens. And we've gotten good at identifying. Wait, is that really something we're going to be good at, or should we not do that? So we work on how to basically put ourselves into the best position to do the best job for our clients at a price point that makes the most sense for them and for us. So we've gotten better at that over the years. We try to focus on core competencies where we can. So focusing on meeting some of the recent trends. CMMC is the Department of Defense cybersecurity regulation. The SEC's rules, data privacy rules. Stick to the things that are driving businesses to make spending decisions, and then also stick to where the threats are the greatest. That way we know we're meeting the market where the market's at, and then making sure we're recruiting the right people. So over the next 12 months, we want to see more business coming in through the CMMC, SEC, and a few other regulated spaces. Um, we don't want to grow too fast with the people aspect. We grew a lot pretty fast, actually, the first middle 3 or 4 years here, especially during COVID. We doubled the size of the company. But what we really want to do is what technologies can we use internally to make greater efficiencies and reduce any overheads to the point where we can bring on new teammates and take our time hiring, because finding the right people for us is tough. But we want to find the right people for sure. And it's better to take your time doing that than to rush into a bad decision. So we want to make sure we're doing that. So making sure we get the right people, sticking to the core competencies, and then just driving that growth organically is where we're at. We don't have to hit some specific EBITDA number. We don't have to hit some revenue number. We don't. We love to put ourselves in a position to one day, make a liquidity event happen for the company, but that can happen when we're ready. There's no timeline. There's no gun to our head. We're in charge of our own destiny right now. So, right now we're in a good spot for that. And it's come through disciplined decision making, particularly in finances. Where do you spend the money? Where do you save it? And we want to stick to just staying good at that, especially in this really volatile business environment. Rates, inflation, stagflation, war in Ukraine, war in Israel. Um, this is all creating a market that is really tough to operate within. Investments down across the board in 2023. We're not trying to compete for investment dollars when it's not going to be the most advantageous for us. If we don't really need to do that, which we don't, we're not going to spend our time worrying about that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, and I'm excited to see where you guys end up taking later. It sounds like you guys got something good going on and unique, and I'm sure you only will experience growth in the future. But I appreciate you for obviously coming on the podcast, man. You had a great story. I do have one more question that I always like to ask my guests at the end, and that is, I'm sure this will be a loaded question, but what are the most important things that you've learned in your career, and we'll even say your whole career, and what would something that you would want to leave the audience with in terms of a nugget of wisdom?
Mm. Well, I would say this: the people who are around you that show you loyalty really make a difference. And the more loyalty they show you, the more you want to show it to them. And, you know, it means people have to trust you, take you at your word, which means you have to live by a certain level of values that people will say, he's not a giant risk taker. He's not going to be irresponsible. So when I'm looking my kids in the face and they're asking me what I'm up to today, how's work, and I'm happy to tell them what the mission is of our company. I feel good about that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pursuing something that makes me feel good, So I'm not one of those people, thank God, that I'm always walking around saying I'm not fulfilled. I'm not pursuing a passion. I have a passion for helping people. Um, I also have a passion for motorcycling. That's a personal hobby of mine, but I'm not going to go, you know, getting somebody into motorcycling might actually be something that helps them. And I've had friends that got into that and they love it and it becomes like a fulfilling thing for them. So that's fantastic. But as far as a life, a career goes, this is a more feasible career than that. So I find that I'm, fulfilled by that um, passion, and that I've got a yearn to try to do better, keep improving. The better I feel like we're doing, the better we're doing in the marketplace. The more companies are being protected. Like, makes me feel good, right?
Yeah.
I spent 21 years as a Marine, right? That's a long time spent defending something. So, to just transition from that to some thankless corporate job where I'm just pushing paper or whatever, like I couldn't imagine doing that,
Mhm.
so I didn't settle for that. Um, I could have. Uh, there'd be less risk. There'd be less unknowns in my life. Maybe. Actually, I don't even know about that because then you're
Yeah.
subject to somebody else's decision making, and hopefully they make good ones on your behalf. So it is really more about over my career I found surrounding yourself with people who are loyal to you and who you want to be loyal to, and then pursuing your career as a passion has really been something that's fulfilling because I feel good about what I'm doing, and if I feel that way, it'll come across. And the way I can bring in a client, the way I can help our teams deliver the service that we need to get out there. So I feel like that's probably been the biggest keys for me.
Yeah, I love that, man. And I think that loyalty is a virtue that unfortunately is not seen a lot in this world anymore. And I think that to try to bring it back is something that is important. And I think that being able to find people that you trust, like you said, and be able to do business with them or even develop relationships, it's the cornerstone of life in general, right? And so I think that you have a great outlook and view, and it makes sense why you continue to fight the good fight, and I think it's exciting to see what you guys are doing over there. I'm obviously going to leave your company description and your LinkedIn profile inside the YouTube description. But is there any other way that maybe get people want to get in contact with you if they want to reach out to you? What are the best ways to kind of talk to you?
Yeah, the website for Layer 8 Security is layer8security.com. We have a contact form there. If they want to contact us, not too hard to get to me through that. My staff will push that up. Um, but my LinkedIn profile is out there. If people want to message me about anything, I'm happy to engage. No, those are probably the two best ways to get a hold of me.
Perfect. Perfect. Well, great, man. Well, thanks again so much for coming on the podcast. I really did appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching all the way to the end. If you did stick around, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and stay around for more content related like this. So, hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Take care. Ciao.